Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Young, and I want to welcome you to my research presentation for UAGC's 2021 Research Symposium titled The Coronavirus Pandemic versus the Modern Workforce. I want to start by introducing myself to you all. I go by Steph, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in organizational leadership at UAGC. I received my bachelor's in human resources management from Ashford University. I was born and raised in New York City, but I currently live in Atlanta. Now, professionally, I work in finance for a telecom company and I'm looking to further my career in HR. But personally, I'm just a music and food lover that enjoys spending time with my puppy Miko, who you can see pictured here on that slide. Before I jump into the next slide, I want to let you know why this subject is so important to me. We've all been affected by the coronavirus pandemic in some way, and as an HR professional, it's important for me to understand what the future looks like for our modern workforce. It's also important to discuss the current recession that has resulted from the pandemic and how minorities are disproportionately affected by economic crises. When the coronavirus pandemic first entered the United States in March 2020, every primary and secondary school in the nation initiated contingency plans involving e-learning in order to comply with social distancing orders. Businesses that were able to prevent their teams from massive layoffs sent them home to work remotely. According to the APA, the epidemic has led to a spike in depression, substance and alcohol abuse, anxiety, and domestic violence. Income inequality increased the impacts of recession in underrepresented areas. According to research performed by Lewin in 2018, people of color in these areas suffer from generational wealth gaps and income disparities that make it harder for them to avoid, survive, and recover from the effects of recession. So in addition to joblessness, Americans are dealing with isolation while coping with losing their homes and their loved ones due to the coronavirus. Now more than ever, strong technological and communication skills are needed to keep our society afloat. In his APA article, Crane warns institutions of the stresses associated with returning to work and school in the aftermath of the pandemic and encourages them to restructure some of their policies. In 2020, the United States witnessed its worst unemployment rate since the Great Depression, resulting in a recession. Now, just for context, the Great Depression was approximately 10 years long, and within a matter of months in 2020, unemployment rates matched those numbers. Now, there are three types of unemployment, which are frictional, structural, and cyclical. As far as frictional unemployment goes, that's usually always present in the economy. So the normal unemployment range is about 3.5 to 4.0%. The unemployment rate raised to 15% at the height of the pandemic. Structural unemployment increased due to businesses laying off employees and closing their brick and mortar locations. And cyclical unemployment increased due to an overall decline in consumerism. So it's very rare that all three are present in the economy at such high levels. So it does seem like a recession was inevitable. Recession unveils the long-standing discriminatory policies that discourage generational wealth and prevent economic mobility in minority groups. The Black community suffers the most during a downturn and consistently experiences the highest unemployment rates across the U.S. This recession will have long-term effects on the American workforce's mental and financial health, but it is also disproportionately affecting the Black community. According to the corresponding BLS report, in May 2020, the unemployment rate for African Americans above the age of 20 rested at 16.8% in comparison to 12.4% for whites. Based on research performed by the CAP, African American workers are the first to lose their jobs when the economy sours, but they're also the last ones to regain their jobs when the economy improves. Severe gaps in wealth and education have fueled unemployment and lack of economic growth in America. Minorities typically suffer the most during recessions due to pre-existing racial biases that hinder them from securing employment and advanced education. As you can see in Figure 2, even in a growing labor market, the wealth gap between blacks and whites is substantial and has only continued to expand since the Great Recession. Using data collected from the BLS, Weller's article for the CAP includes graphical data that reveals that in addition to higher unemployment rates, African Americans also have fewer job opportunities and lower pay than their white counterparts. Reducing the current unemployment rate needs to begin by tackling financial and educational inequalities between whites and minorities. To yield economic opportunities for African Americans, the focus needs to be on increasing the education budget so that they have access to schools and programs that support academic development. In the 2015 article, The Land of Opportunity, Economic Mobility in the United States, Athria and Romero argue that targeting education in America is the most important thing for promoting economic opportunity and eliminating the racial wealth gap. They also do some research that's further explained here in this slide by the graph, where they discuss disparities in early childhood outcomes according to race. And from age 5 to age 11 to age 29, you can see that that disparity just gets wider. The term successful is in quotations because that's defined by the authors as living independently, having a college degree, or a family income of at least 250% above the poverty level. But as you can see, 68% of white people have achieved that by age 29 versus 33% of Black people. The onset of the coronavirus epidemic has cast a light on income and education inequality in the United States as minorities try to recoup from the present-day recession initiated by the virus. For America to successfully improve unemployment and promote financial mobility for African Americans, the government must commit to updating policies that would raise the minimum wage, increase the national education budget, and generate mental health awareness. In a peer-reviewed article by Toolings, it stated that the minimum wage accounts for 25% of income inequality in America, which is reason enough to consider changing that. As far as increasing the national education budget, that has long-term effects that benefit society as a whole, such as generating revenue for the market and producing skills that increase total aggregate demand. The government can contribute to mental health awareness efforts in the form of educational programs or employee benefit packages, which are just two ways that would prevent a future crisis and support multiple factions of society, including minorities. Increasing the education budget is beneficial to the nation because investment in human capital promotes a higher functioning society, creates more jobs, strengthens workforce skills, and minimizes the income gap between different demographics. With a more significant education budget, minorities will have access to more programs and curriculums that are tailored to their own societal progression. If that budget is dispersed fairly, urban communities will finally gain access to the same high-paying skills and abilities that are usually reserved for rural and suburban areas. I want to take a quick moment to thank the listeners for allowing me to discuss my proposed research. Thank you all so much. I especially want to thank UAGC for giving me the opportunity to present. If you have any additional questions or would like to discuss new findings related to this topic, feel free to email me. I'm also open to networking with other HR professionals in the Atlanta area, so if you've made it this far, please give me a follow on LinkedIn as well. Thank you all again, and I pray you and your family stay safe during this time.